everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be sharing how to make a DIY macrame snowflake using 3 different patterns. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more content like this. Less than 10% of you are actually subscribed who are watching this video. So if you could subscribe, it would really help out my channel and allow me to keep creating this content for you all. Alright, here are the materials and techniques that we will use to create these 3 macrame snowflakes. Check out the exact materials that I love to use in the description box below, and for a refresher on all the knots, check out the beginner macrame tutorial in the card above. To begin, the first pattern, we will mount 10 cords that are 60 inches long each to the 2-inch wood ring using a lark's head knot. I am using 6mm cotton string in the color denim for this, but feel free to experiment with different colors and fibers. Once all of my cords are mounted, I like to hold my project down using a clipboard to make it easier to work all of the knots. For the first row, work 5 square knots around. And of course, for a refresher on this or any knot, check out the knot tutorial in the card above. You can also check out the written pattern for these macrame snowflakes on my website really soon. For the second row, work 5 more square knots directly below the first row. For the third row, we will work 5 square knots alternating with the previous row and leaving a 1-inch gap in between them. You can use a piece of cardboard or heavyweight cardstock like I am to use as a measurement as you tie the knots in order to keep them nice and consistent. For the fourth row, work 5 square knots directly below the previous row. For the fifth row, we'll tie a gathering knot directly below the square knots in the previous row, working 5 gathering knots in total. I liked to use jute cord to tie the gathering knots, but feel free to experiment with using different yarns to create the colors and textures that you like. To finish this piece, trim the ends at least 1 inch below the gathering knot, and this will give your snowflake a nice fringe that you can comb out as you like. And remember to save your scraps for other projects. I love to use mine to create other ornaments or other various fiber scrap projects. I have a playlist with a few in the description box below, and we'll be doing more very soon, so look out for those. To hang up your snowflake, you can thread a piece of string through one of the back of the gathering knots and tie an overhand knot at the top. You can also use a mixture of half glue, half water, and paint it on the back of the ornament to stiffen the fabric if you'd like. It dries clear and is my favorite way to keep these snowflakes nice and stiff in order to hang them up. I did this in the video in the card above if you'd like to see this method more in detail. Now the snowflake is complete and ready to display as you like. For the second pattern, I am using light blue 4mm cotton string. And to begin, mount 12 cords that are 90 inches long each to the wood ring using a lark's head knot. For the first row, work 7 square knots around the row. For the second row, work 7 more square knots directly below that first row. In the third row, work 7 square knots around the row, alternating with the previous row, and leave a 1-inch gap in between them. In the fourth to sixth row, work 7 square knots around the row, directly below that third row. This will create a column of 4 square knots in total on top of each other. In the seventh row, work 7 square knots, alternating this time with the previous rows, and leave a 1-inch gap in between them. For the eighth row, work 7 more square knots directly below the previous row, but this time we will create a picot. To do this, leave a 3-inch gap in between that previous row and this next square knot, and then we'll push up on this square knot, holding onto those middle 2 strings as you do this, bringing it up to meet that square knot in the previous row. This will create a nice picot or loop design. For the ninth row, create another picot, leaving only a 1-inch gap this time in between the 2 square knots. This will create a smaller picot. To finish off this snowflake, trim about 2 inches below the last square knot and comb out the fringe. Now you have a lovely snowflake, and I definitely like to use a glue water stiffening mixture on this really delicate design in order to keep its shape. To let your snowflake hang, thread a piece of string through the back of one of those square knots and tie an overhand knot on top. And now it's ready to hang and display as you like. For the third and final design, I am using 3mm cotton 3-ply cord in the ivory color, a 2-inch wood ring, and a 7-inch metal ring. This pattern is similar to the snowflake I made in the tutorial last year, but a little different and more beginner friendly to create. To begin, mount 12 cords that are 70 inches long to the wood ring using a lark's head knot. In the first row, work 6 square knots around. For the second row, work 6 more square knots, alternating with the previous row and leaving at least a 1/2 inch gap in between them. In the third row, work 6 square knots around, alternating again with the previous row and leaving a 1/2 inch gap in between them. In the fourth row, work 6 square knots around directly below the previous row. In the fifth row, work 36 double half hitch knots to connect the design to the 7-inch metal ring. I will show you how to begin this in real time, but if you would like a more detailed and slower paced tutorial on the double half hitch knot, check out the beginner macrame tutorial in the card above. To do this, first make sure that this ring is on top of the design and the square knot is slightly above the ring. Then take that leftmost cord and wrap it around the ring and bring it to the left as you wrap it completely around the ring. Continue with that same cord, taking it around the ring again, and as you wrap it, you'll start to see a loop below the ring, and you'll bring that end of the cord through that loop. As you pull it all the way through, it'll tighten and complete this double half hitch knot. Continue in the same way with all of the cords, and I like to work the knots from left to right. And if the square knot in your design is lining up a little below the ring, hold onto the middle 2 cords and simply push up on it. This will bring it above or to the inside of that ring before you begin to tie those double half hitch knots. For the fifth row, mount 24 cords in total that are 42 inches long each, mounting 4 cords in between the spaces of each double half hitch knot section. We will mount them using a reverse lark's head knot. So fold that cord in half, and starting behind the ring, bring that middle section over the top and to the front. Then bring those 2 ends of the cord through that middle section loop from back to front. And do this with all of the cords. Once all of the cords are mounted, for the 6th row, we'll work 18 square knots in total around the row. For the 7th row, work a square knot that is alternating with the previous row, then skip 4 cords. Continue this all the way around, working 9 square knots in total. This will create 9 clusters of 3 square knots in the design. In the 8th row, we'll work double half hitch knots to outline each of the 3 square knot clusters. So to begin, we'll take that cord that is furthest to the left as the standing cord, and the other cords to its right are the working cords, and tie 3 diagonal double half hitch knots from left to right. Now the cord on the furthest to the right is the standing cord, and the 4 cords to its left are the working cords. With them, tie 4 diagonal double half hitch knots from right to left. I'll show you this in real time. Now for the 9th row, we'll work 9 square knots around, connecting each of these triangle pattern clusters together. For the 10th row, work 18 square knots around, alternating with the previous row this time. And for that 11th row, work 9 square knots around, alternating with the previous row and completing that diamond of square knots in the design. To finish out this pattern, trim the ends as you like and unravel the cord, then comb it out to create a lovely fringe. And of course, you can thread some string through one of those double half hitch knots or secure it to that metal ring with the lark's head knot and tie off the cord with an overhand knot to hang it and display as you like. Now we have 3 lovely macrame snowflake designs. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and let me know which design was your favorite in the comments below. If you make your own snowflake, tag me at Cactus Lady Creation on any social media platform, as I'd love to see your work and share it with our online community. To hang these snowflakes in the window, I like to use some self-adhesive hooks and connect them to the window in order to display them with some twinkle lights. And I put the ones that I like to use in the description box below as well. Also check out the full written patterns very soon on my website at cactusladycreation.com, and make sure to subscribe and click that bell to be notified of future fiber art, upcycle, nature crafts, and art vlog videos. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.